All right. It is the 2nd of February, 2026. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing Lookup TV. We are online at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is The Morning Drift. There's a lot that we're going to delve into this morning, but just so that I can highlight for you what we have here for you this morning, or what our topic of conversation is going to be. A lot of Kenyans were surprised by one Wamuchomba's move from opposition to being allied with the Kenya Kwanza government. In that conversation, if you did see majority of her communique, she did say that the only reason as to why she has decided to move camps is because she wants to attract development, or she's been given some development promises that have been fulfilled by the president. Case in point, a road that was constructed in her constituency. Which makes us think then, is that the only way to get development in this government? That you have to be allied to the ruling party for you to get that development that you want? Is that what it is? Because let me just read for you this quote from her just before she joined government, and this is what she used to say. We have a president who is a populist, promising people what he cannot deliver, and that does not help Kenyans. That's before she joined the government, or she started working with the government, should I say, this morning. But then, if you look at her comment right now, let's see where we are. This is what she's saying. I'm aligning myself with William Ruto because that's where my people want me to be. All right? So if you look at that comment, then you will see exactly what it is. That this is somebody who's been swayed either by a promise for development or a promise for development once you joined our camp or my camp. But then makes you ask yourself the same questions when leaders say that we want our people to be in government with the same thing that the ODM camp is pushing for. I mean, if you look at the negotiations that are having with the government, you ask yourself, what is the outlook of that negotiation? When they say that we want our people to be in government, what do they mean? Look at this quote by Junet Mohammed this morning, who's saying, we cannot oppose development. If projects benefit our people, we will engage. Opio Wandai was saying, our role is not to fight government for the sake of it. Our duty is to deliver for the people. Oburu Odinga was saying, dialogue does not mean surrender, it means protecting the interests of our supporters. Are they all confirming that unless you align yourself with the ruling party, then you won't get development? It's been quite a long period after devolution. It's, to be exact, more than 13 years after devolution. Is it not time that we read our constitution and know that the president really doesn't determine the development that goes on in the constituency levels and in the county levels? What is the function of the president? What is the function of the ruling party when it comes to determining where development goes? Are we back to the pre-2010 days when a president would award loyalists with development? What is this negotiation that ODM wants to negotiate when they say that we want our people to also be in government? What does it mean? Must you be in government for you to get development? What about the rest of them who will not be in government? That's the question that we're asking this morning. The Wamuchomba way, either you are in government or no development. That's what we talk about this morning. You can feel free to engage us online and Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. My name is Simbalaji Charles. Can I get our numbers are right there on your screen. You can talk to us through WhatsApp. Let's engage, let's talk. Do we all have to go the Wamuchomba way for us to get development? That's the question that we're asking this morning. And I'll be introducing the guests who will be joining us in the studio for this conversation this morning. But just before that, then let's jump and see what you are waking up to this morning on your dailies. And we're going to start with the Daily Nation this morning. And this is what the Daily Nation is talking about. Grand cover-up. That's the story here. That a week after the violent attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua at a church in Othaya, there are still no arrests, and government has signaled it has no intention of going after planners of the violence by shifting from the investigation from the DCI to IPOA. Officials have narrowed the organized crime to a police misconduct probe, which means the politicians and goons blamed for the chaos have been let off the hook. That story has been covered right here on page 4, 5, and 6 of the Daily Nation this morning. I mean, that's how you look at it, this one. And we spoke about it. We said Rigathi Gachagua, the likes of the members of parliament who were implicated in these attacks. They did name some names and even went right ahead to point out the officers from both sides who they thought were part of these attacks. But since then, we haven't seen any arrests. And they're saying here, it's now gone down to police misconduct probe, as opposed to the individuals who are organizing, who are sending the police to actually throw tear gas in those church gatherings. So it's down to just that. If you look at what the DCP party leader yesterday, that is Rigathi Gachagua, addresses a rally attended by some of his united opposition counterparts yesterday at Gitugi Market in Murang'a County. So just to test waters again, they were in church, and good thing is that this time around there was no tear gas in the church that Rigathi Gachagua attended. But at what time are we gonna, speak to church officials and tell them it's not good for politicians to actually come in and do political rallies in your church? Do you think it's time that we need to talk about that? Because yes, Rigathi Gachagua was tear gassed the previous weekend. Again, you've invited him in your church as well, praying and hoping that he won't be tear gassed. There's a story here. That story by there has been covered on page 4, 5, and 6 of the Daily Nation. On page 7 here, President William Ruto breaks his silence on violence during church services, warning politicians against retrogressive politics and chaos in places of worship. That story has been covered on page 7 of the Daily Nation, just an extension of that story that has been covered on page 4, 5, and 6. He also didn't say, we are going to arrest those police officers. He didn't call for investigations and arrests. He just said, politicians, stop this. And babies have been hurt, and innocent congregants tear gassed in church in the presence, and it's the police officers who are actually throwing the tear gas. And you must call for proper investigations and arrests. It's not rocket science, is it? It shouldn't be rocket science. That story has been covered on page 7. Pictures right there of President William Ruto with Kamkunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan and Bishop Alfred Nyauro during Sunday service at PFA, All Nations Gospel Church in Gikomba, Nairobi County yesterday. That story has been covered on page 7. There's a story here on how Ruto used Uhuru script on KU land saga. Story has been covered on page 2 and 3. Prof. Paul Wanaina survived long enough to usher in the new administration of President William Ruto. that promptly reinstated him. But as soon as he discovered the move, things change. The more things change, the more they remain the same. You're going to read that story on page 213. Kenyatta University has been fighting the government on who owns the land that the institution is built on. And if you do remember, during Uhuru Kenyatta's days, he also came in and said, the Kenyatta University is a public institution, so that land belongs to the government, and the government may want to use it in whatever way they deem. All right, that sagas come on again to follow the current. We see Prof. Wenaina in it, page 213 of the Daily Nation. Story here on page 12, deals, trips and girls, Kenyan link to new Jeffrey Epstein files. Oof. In August 2019, a man died in an American prison, but this wasn't any man. It was Jeffrey Edward Epstein, a financier who made a name and a fortune from managing the wealth of various rich individuals. We're going to read that story on page 12. That syndicate is not just gotten a hold of our U.S. leaders. It looks as if it's also coming back here in the country. You're going to read. It's an interesting read there, because even President Donald Trump has been speaking about it and weighing his leadership thoughts on it. It's an interesting read right there on page 12. Education, decline of public schools puts future of learners at stake. That story has been covered on page 10, where over the past 3 decades, there has been a significant shift from public to private schools as more parents lose confidence in the state-run institutions. That story has been covered on page 10. If you have a young learner today, do you think you'll be sending them to private school or public school? Yeah. Options given to you. You have your kids here, and public school. Some of them are even paying 500 shillings a term. Would you take them to public school or private school? That's what this story is talking about. That majority of parents have lost their trust in the public education system in the country, and that's not good for the government. Yeah, because public schools should be leading and then private schools follow. That every good example that you want in education should be happening in public schools, because the government has the power and the infrastructure to make that possible. Let's cross over to the Standard this morning as well. Look at what has been covered. Right, same story, the grand cover-up. Police bosses are playing PR games, refusing to name officers caught on CCTV and are hiding behind unnamed administrators as brutality keeps repeating. From Nandi Hills pool hall beatings to church raids, the pattern is familiar. Now Senator Samson Cherargei accuses Inspector General Douglas Kanja of shielding rogue officers and dismisses disciplinary moves as a stunt. Kevin Maseri's killing in Kitengela drives the point home. Shot outside a pub, he died as his friend fights for life. All right, with IPOA probing and promising, and with IPOA probing and promises piling up, Kenyans are left asking who will finally be held to account. That's a story that really needs to take precedence in the country. Because why don't we have arrests up to now? Why don't we have names up to now? We shouldn't be asking these questions. Up to now, we should be asking these questions. Yeah? Even the guys. I mean, we saw some youth getting beaten up in a pub just for playing pool. Why don't we have the names already? And arrests done. Even IPOA keeps on saying we're investigating. We should be having conclusion in those props right now. The sad state of affairs here. This is what the Kenya National Civil Society Center Executive Director, one Mr. Churchill, is saying cases of indiscriminate shooting are so common, meaning police brutality will continue until someone is held to account. serving as a deterrent to police missteps. All right. That's exactly what we have this morning in terms of your news or coverage this morning. And by the way, should you want also to read the story? That story has been covered on page 4 of the the Standard. On Health Science this morning, there's a story here that is covered of our 25-year pain of stolen joy of parenthood. For decades, Pamela Tieno endured childless stigma and suffering, unaware of a 5-kilo tumor that was destroying her fertility, until life-saving surgery finally revealed the devastating truth. You're going to read that story on page 4 and 5. There's also a story here on page 2 on poor sleep and type 2 diabetes raises a death risk. Page 2, all right. Too many eggs, study links high intake to heart disease. How many eggs should you be taking by day? Because every time I go online, I'm told eggs have no effect on your body, especially for those guys who are trying to keep away from carbs and want to increase their protein intake. Yeah, since some ladies will say we take almost 8 eggs a day. There's also another clip of whatever doctors are talking about here. They're told, keep away from meat, eat eggs. Others tell you, no, keep away from eggs, eat meat. Others tell you, keep away from bananas, eat mangoes. So what are we going to eat really in this decade? Yeah. Interesting days. You're going to read the health pull out on the Standard this morning. It looks like this. Good. On that note then, let me cross over to what we have trending this morning. We do have 3 issues that we're going to look at. Gachagua has been speaking. Also, Matiang'i has been speaking, trending heavily this weekend. And also, the Muslim brothers have been speaking in support of what Gachagua has been talking about in the country. And on that note, I want us to jump directly into this first clip that we have for you here this morning of a man who's come out to support some of the allegations that Gachagua has laid bare on what is happening on the northeastern part of the country. All right, the chief who has turned out now to speak against Ruto's administration, but most essentially the corruption, the wanton corruption he calls it, that is happening in the northern part of this country. Let's just listen to him briefly and then come and see exactly what Kenyans are talking about on it.
Yes. They were rigged out, they were pushed to the wall, but lastly they won the war. Yes. They were rigged out, they were pushed to the wall, but lastly they won the war. Yes. Kwa hivyo watabeli kama Jen Kihara alikuwa anataka apatiwe TCPTK direct. Wakati alikatazwa ameruka. Kumbushe mwambie ni Wamuchomba. Wamuchomba mwizi. Wamuchomba. Kwa hivyo sikiza mzuri. Kenya is united. Mimi ni Somali kutoka Northeastern. Hata mimi. I am eminent person from Northeastern. We are with Mzee Rigathi Gachagua. He is above tribal. Ni mtu alianza kazi ya administration, anajua mambo vile serikali anaendelea. Kwa hivyo tafadhalini usipatue kidogo alafu utoroke kama Duale. Duale is a noise maker. Is a noise maker. Hata for last election 7,000 ya UDA alileta kwa rais. Na hiyo alikuwa na local shopishini wakati. Angalia kamera. Kwa hivyo tafadhalini, mimi ni mzee. I am 62 years old. Nimeamua, nimejitokesha. Tafadhalini. Mimi naitwa Mohamed Haji Bulo, former teacher, former administrator, nilifanya kazi ya ofisi wa rais. I know how they work. Alafu tuchunge tu kura zenu. The polling stations lazima tukuwe na agent wazuri. And remember, the vetting of Somalis was scrubbed purposely to bring alliance to Kenya. We Somali Kenyans, we are against that idea. Si Mkenya mwingine, si wa Kenya peke yao. Masses are coming from Somalia and they are getting illegal ID cards. It is quite surprising. A sub-location of Mandera with a household of 25, kila mwaka wanakata 200 to 300 ID cards. Hiyo inaweza kuwa household 30 ama 25 Indio over 200. I will name them. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be hata kuitwa kwa polisi. Nitasema hiyo sub-location, nitasema hiyo location, na wale wanasimamia hiyo kazi. Therefore, there is no fear. There is no fear. Kenya is ours. Haya ingine.
The fear is gone.
In 1963.
A conversation that is an extension of what has been happening across the country on what is going on in the northeastern part of the country as well. All right. Let me just read some of the comments here on what this elder has been saying. Let me just read first one. Dark black. All right. Bwana Cheusi this morning was saying Kenyans are now being trapped in the Somali clan wars, and just how they managed to join the Russia-Ukraine war. You will see an Otieno or Mtua blowing themselves up on the streets of Eastleigh. All right, someone was saying, and somehow you believe this man, just like Iputo Kiru are telling you that Kalenjin support Wamitego, Gashagwa, and the Ataland grabber. All right. Couple of guys who are saying this is the truth. The Somali community in the country needs to wake up. That Duale might not be the right leader. This is from Bernard Kavuli this morning. Also, one from Benjamin Kiama this morning was saying leadership starts with us standing against those who we think are corrupt. We need to say it the way it is supposed to be said. Good. Some of the reactions then that are coming from Kenyans this morning on this one. It's a conversation that has gone on. It follows what one Rigathi Gachagua has also said, that he believes that indeed the most corrupt leaders are also found in the northeastern part of the country, calling out some names and calling out for some leader to stand and on the grounds of accountability as well. Let's also now cross over to some of the leaders who've spoken this weekend as well. Matiang'i has been speaking as well. He was in church this weekend and he delivered a passionate speech about not just him wanting to be the president of this country, saying that any other person can be the president of this country, but it's a time that we as Kenyans stand and elect leaders who can change the fortunes of Kenya as a country. Let's then listen in and then come back and talk about that particular submission for one Dr. Fred Matiang'i as well.
To a point where you won't be able to control it. The anger down below, mimi sijui wanaishi wapi. The anger down below, ile hasira iko na wananchi saa hii. Ama viongozi nasema uongo. Sinyi mnakutana na wananchi kila wakati. When you listen to wananchi very carefully, tukienda kwa mikutano, hata nimekuwa nikienda kwa mikutano 2 weeks ago nilikuwa Coast, naongea na viongozi, unasikia vile viongozi wanaongea as a leader, na niwaambie tu ukweli, tuko kwa kanisa as a leader, unasikia hiyo maneno wananchi vile wanaongea, unajiuliza viongozi wetu wanajua hii mambo. Sasa hii ni kama wale ambao walikuwa wanakaa kwa ile meli inaitwa Titanic, wanakunywa wine kule juu na dance na girlfriends wao, na meli ikasinki, na ikisinki mutasinki na huyo girlfriend na wine yako na kila kitu mutasinki. I'm telling you, we are playing with the country. Hawa viongozi wetu tuambie tunacheza na nchi vipi?
That's it. That's Dr. Fred Matiang'i right there delivering a speech. But he spoke about a lot of other things. But you can hear he's rallying behind true leadership in this country, and this is what he's saying. And this is what majority of Kenyans are saying. Let me just read this reaction here from Rhea Collins, who's saying Matiang'i kind of politics is sweet. Hima to see a reverse ukuwa bitter than Ilea direct. All right, the mountain can't produce. This is Kiberia, who's saying that Jose Muduri, sorry, who's saying that the mountain can't produce both the president and the DP. I would go with Kalonzo as president and Matiang'i as the deputy. All right. Nyabaso Danvers was saying it will be Ruto versus Matiang'i. Ruto will not show up for the debate. Matiang'i is very eloquent, composed, and a quick thinker. Matiang'i will quickly pulverize Kasongo's lies with facts, not by words. These are words from Nyabasa Danvers. I'm also going to read a comment here from this one here from Dante Detrix, who's saying Matiang'i is the same person who presided over Kondele Obunga Nyalenda massacre back then, and people died, but because they're saying Ruto must go, Sahi amekuwa saint. Right. Is added some local dialects. What's here? I don't want to read them on here because I don't know to have a translator yet. I do not know what it means. All right. Finally, then, let me just read a response here from Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who's saying the government cannot ask citizens to uphold the very law it is breaking. Right. That's Dr. Fred Okongo Matiang'i. That's what he said yesterday. Finally, then, this is one from Alinur Mohammed, who's saying, let's focus on government issues, true leadership, and all. Good. On that note, let's then cross over to one Rigathi Gachagua as well. He's been speaking, and he spoke this weekend as well. Let's see exactly what he spoke about, then come back and see how Kenyans reacted to it as well.
That we about the attack on the ACK Witima Church on Sunday. He has not commented, and he will not comment because he's the one who organized that attack with Kipchumba Murkomen and DIG Langat. So kama unangojea Ruto aongee hiyo maneno, hata ongea, yeye ndiye mwenye kutumana. And that attack was an assassination attempt by government. Na tunashangaa, niliuliza Kanja on his face, wewe ndio mkuu ya polisi, polisi ndio walipiga kanisa, unasema tunataka to report. How do you report police to the police? How do you do it? There is a squad, a killer squad called Sierra of 12 people, iko hapo Nairobi, under the regional commander wa Nairobi anaitwa Colin Seda. Ndio walitoka Nairobi wakakuja hapo Madera, Kamunyaka, wakakula breakfast hapo kwa MP, wakakuja kuua sisi kanisani na kuumiza kina mama. So we are saying, hiyo watu kama mtawashika mwashike, kama hamtaki pia ni sawa. But we have said that enough is enough, and people of Kenya cannot be intimidated anymore.
Pretty much. He's saying that, well, the President Ruto is the one who organized those attacks. That's what he's saying here this morning. And just a couple of responses. This is Hon Mushiri Jeroge, who's saying that, dear boss, we don't understand why they don't want you to address gatherings. They cannot fathom such a crowd that no one has paid. Now we see the fear, but mambo bado. All right. This is a Senator Kenneth Maina, who's saying, my party leader, the most brilliant, courageous leader Kenya has ever seen. You have earned my respect. Ndungu Karanja who's saying, and you fellas should stop being confused. Find a way to have such events aimed at sensitizing young people to register as voters all over the country. Hii ujinga ya kushinda kanisani na one term haitawasaidia. I can agree. All right. This is, let me just read one or two comments here before we step out. After the court will validate your impeachment, utapoa. That is one Daudi Gishana. All right. This is Baba Liam who's saying, Karibu Odhaya Tena, it was great hosting you and your brigade. And finally, there's Da Vinci Code who's saying, the president has spoken about it. He has warned leaders like you against organizing such events and attacks in church. Kenyans responding to what Brigadier Gachagua is saying there about his attempted assassination. That's exactly what we have for you this morning in terms of the trends. And remember, you can still keep on speaking to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. Guess what? Let's ask this question. Is it the Wamuchomba way that unless you are allied to the political party or the ruling political party in the country, then you're not getting development? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, the hashtag is The Morning Drift.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Pindi tu taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza alikuwa na ria wasi wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi manzi.
Penzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
How easy is it for you to forgive someone who has hurt you? How easy is it? What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. You look familiar. Have we met before? No. We met in
Nobody is buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Is it for you to forgive someone who has hurt you? How easy is it? What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. You look familiar. Have we met before? No. We met in
Nobody is buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Pindi tu taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu, kwa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
What is the Kenyan Constitution? And I'm talking about the 2010 Kenyan Constitution that has the smallest leadership unit in the country being a ward. What does it say about development? What are the functions of the county governments? How do the county governments enable the wards to achieve national development? Why do county governments always petition the national government to increase the distribution of the national resources to the county governments? What was the idea of devolution? Now, at some point, every other function that touches on development will be found in the county government. That was the general, the true faith of devolution. Yes, we made a couple of steps. Some functions are still enshrined in the national government. Some of them are not. But then in the true faith of the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, you would imagine that by now, any party in the country, any leader in the country, any Kenyan citizen in the country would not have to be allied to any other party for you to get development at your local level. But is that what it is? Because when you ask yourself, when ODM currently is tussling in negotiations with the government, their leaders come out and say, we are fighting for our people to get these national projects from the national government. You ask yourself the question, why should you be fighting for that? I want to take you back to a clip that got majority of Kenyans out of guard. One, Wamuchomba. It's a very tiny clip, but I want us to watch it first. Once we've watched it, I'll introduce the guest on the studio so that we start to look at, if indeed you aligning yourself with the ruling party is what is going to get you development. Let's take a look at it. Once we come back, I'll introduce the guest in the studio so we can jump into that conversation.
yangu ni 3 term, ya rais ni 2 term. Twende kazi. Kazi bila kelele. Yeah. I've decided this year I want maendeleo na kazi. Siasa tutapiga baadaye. Na niko nyumbani, niko State House wa UDA. Kabisa.
That's it. I don't know if Edgar, we didn't get this to the...
Yangu ni 3 term, ya rais ni 2 term. Twende kazi. Kazi bila kelele. Yeah. I've decided this year I want maendeleo na kazi. Siasa tutapiga baadaye. Na niko nyumbani, niko State House wa UDA. Kabisa.
That's it. If we go back to 2024, that was not the story. We go back to the Gen Z protest period, that was not the story. So this morning we ask, is it the Wamuchomba way or no development? In the studio, we do have Alfred Mumbo, President, Kenya Young Turks, and also Tom. How are you doing, sir? Let me begin like this. There's a road that was constructed in Wamuchomba's constituency. It was a new road, and that's when her turnaround began. We hadn't known exactly what she was. Kenyans saw that video, what she was talking about, how this is what we need. She's been crying to get this road in her constituency. That road was finally completed by the president. He had promised he was going to complete it. And Kenya said, okay, if that's what it is, it's fine. All right, later on, we find her in that event for UDA. Is that the way to go, Tom?
Thank you so much, Simba. You have started this conversation very well, and you said constitutionally. Constitutionally, development is not a reward. It is a right. So if the president decided to prioritize development in Wamuchomba's constituency, that is not a reward for Wamuchomba. It is a constitutional obligation that has been fulfilled by the executive. And just as the prodigal son story, Wamuchomba is like a prodigal son in UDA.
Yes.
Because the same constitution you have mentioned gives you right to belong to a political party of your choice. And Wamuchomba, in 2022, when he was now seeking election as member of parliament for Githunguri, now after serving for one term women representative for Kiambu, Wamuchomba decided to vie on a UDA ticket. So it is UDA that she owes all their allegiance. But now, there's something Wamuchomba is forgetting, that there's difference between psychophancy politics and issue-based politics. Wamuchomba is trying to push Kenyans to the wall to do psychophancy politics. Issue-based politics simply means if the policy is wrong, I criticize it. If the policy is good, I support it.
Yes.
That is the issue-based politics we want to hear. Not telling us that I am running on the other side because opposition they don't have development. We have members of parliament from the opposition side who are doing much better than members of parliament supporting government. We have seen some data, though we cannot allege some facts to them, but because they have also been brought to the public domain, some of these leaders have been rewarded publicly. Most of them, they belong to the opposition side. So we are saying a reward is not favor to anybody.
Yes.
If you reward a project to constituency, then you have fulfilled your constitutional mandate as the executive. Because what we know, the role of parliaments in this country are only three. Is to oversight, is to legislate, and to represent. So if Wamuchomba is playing her cards very well and has ensured that maybe in the process of legislation, she had that particular opportunity to prioritize project in that particular area, and the government, through now the cabinet secretaries, decided to adopt that particular project as a top priority. That is not a favor for people with Githunguri. That is a constitutional right. So whether Wamuchomba way or the other way, what I'm saying, Kenyans must refrain from playing the psychophancy politics.
Yes.
Yes.
Tom, this is what she says. Hii mwaka, and I'm gonna quote her. Hii mwaka nimeamua kazi mbele, siasa baadaye. That the only thing that has turned around her allegiance is because all of a sudden there's some projects in her constituency that have been done, and she's happy with it.
That means Wamuchomba is just like a child. I said the lost son. Wamuchomba felt that this is our house, but my father is giving other children top priority. Therefore, I need to play the stubborn role so that at least my father can give me a listening ear. So when Wamuchomba was given a listening ear, she's not a new person to UDA. She was sponsored by the UDA to parliament. That is a party she used to vie for a parliamentary seat. Yeah. So it means she's just in-house. It's only that this time round with a different approach. That my father, I am back, but I've decided now to give you strong allegiance.
Mumbo, I'll be coming back to what ODM is negotiating so that we see how different it is from what Wamuchomba is doing. And Tom, I hope you're ready with your facts this morning. Look at Wamuchomba. She was a darling to majority of Kenyans. If you remember during the finance bill conversations in 2024, she was the forefront, saying that majority of these bills that are in this finance bill are not constitutional. We need to go back and relook them. In fact, within UDA, majority of people wanted her out. In fact, they wanted to take her to a disciplinary action. But then that video that she did in her constituency of that road, people looked at it, they said, that's good, development in your constituency. They didn't know that that was the turnaround from Wamuchomba. Was she bribed by the road and the development that she saw in her constituency to get back in line with the party? Or if not, is you getting awarded with development project in your county or constituency government that is going to determine whether you're going to continue receiving these projects or not? Mumbo.
I think the response to your question, let me start it this way. You know, politics, just like business, is about interest.
That's it.
And Wamuchomba, of course, for this case, you will find that she's looking at quite a lot. Like you mentioned earlier, she has been opposing the sitting president in many ways.
Yes.
Up to 2024 Gen Z protests, which is actually okay. It's her right. When things are not running the way you feel that these are how policies should be made, then I think you don't need to say yes to them. And going back to the projects for this case, you see, like my brother has been able to say here that there are three roles of a member of parliament: oversight, legislation, and representation. In the representation of the people of Githunguri, she feels sitting closer to the president would be the only way to go.
Yes.
Remember, UDA is a party that sponsored her to the parliament for that case. And you will find that there are many things that plays the gallery for this case. And you will find that for Wamuchomba, she feels that sitting closer to the president, being closer to the presidency, touring the line and maybe getting to how things are running in the country is the only way how people could be able to get the development projects. There are many projects she's been able to come up with, even without, apart from the roads and every other things. In Githunguri, I think there are these programs whereby she's feeding school children in public schools.
That's it.
That is a project whereby we're not counting on it. The road is just another project, but there are many projects she's been able to dwell into. And generally, Simba Wamuchomba is one of the female member of parliament who are doing well, whether with the support of the government or not. She's been opposing the same government, but she's been doing well. Look at the polls. Any poll she's been able to get into as a member of parliament. She's the only female member of parliament who's been able to perform well. So what I'll be able to say, she's been able to evaluate quite a lot on the table, and she felt if she sits closer to a party that sponsored her, which is actually carrying the presidency currently,
yes,
she will be able to get more than she's actually giving the people of Githunguri.
Yes.
That is why she's wherever she is right now.
Yes.
She's just gone back home.
That's it.
Yeah.
But before I cross over to Tom this morning, look at her sentiments. In that video, and again, I will be pulling it for you this morning so we can get to watch it together. She keeps on saying that I know all along I've not really spoken about this president, but if he continues like this, that's what she says in that video upon inspecting that road. If he continues like this, then Mimi Nikondani, 2-term. That's what she kept on saying. I mean, it took up to the road, Mumbo, for her to come in and openly speak about the president. It took up to the road, Mumbo, for her to come out and say, oh, we've been given a road. So that means I'm back in again. And then she comes and says, hii mwaka nimeamua si siasa, hii mwaka ni development. So if there is development that has been given to you, then you're in government. Is that not the same thing as saying, if you're not in government, then development won't come to you, Mumbo? There's things that, this road that she's been given, is it a prize?
Of course, development is a right. It is a right for that case. And
yes,
Simba, there's something I want you to understand here with Wamuchomba for that case.
That's it.
From where I sit, I think something that has not been able to come out from her is this. Wamuchomba must not have been comfortable with the one former President Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
And that is why she was wherever she was by then. And she finds it more comfortable working with the president now that maybe the person that was not on the table for that case, the same person who opposed her, or the same person she was not comfortable,
yes,
is no longer on the table. So looking at the things and how everything is actually turning out, me and you know that there's normally a lot that happens, especially in terms of development projects.
Yes.
It's not just about who you are or where you are.
Yes.
It's about how allegiance you are to the presidency. I'll give you an example of the former Budgets Committee, Ndindi Nyoro,
yes,
member of Kiharu. When he was the chair of Budgets Committee, everything was well. And now he's not. Everything is not okay. He criticizes the same government. And I think there's nothing that has been able to change. The only thing that has been able to change for this case that is that he's no longer in that position. So for the development for this case, like I mentioned earlier, to me it's a right. But again, even if it's a right, where do you sit for that case, for you to be able to get this development?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because remember, there are consultations that are made. There are consultations that are made from these budget committees to the presidency, who is in the executive, for any disbursements to be made to the constituencies for development.
Yes.
This comes directly from the president. And that's why you see everybody else talking about development, and they refer to the budget committee chair vis-a-vis the president. So budget committee, of course, now communicates to the president, who also gives the limelight of how things should be flowing. And everybody knows that Kiharu was able to receive more development when their member of parliament was the chair of the budget committee vis-a-vis other constituencies. I'm waiting to see Ugunja. Is it Ugunja? Where Samuel Atandi comes from. That is what I'm waiting to see. Then I'll be able to compare notes and maybe say,
yes,
we must have been wrong, or
yes,
you are right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Tom, let me pick your mind on that as well. Why is, because there's some question that we're talking about as well. Because the turnaround for Wamuchomba now, she says, I'm home. I feel like this is where I belong. I'm in it. But if you look at some of the issues that she's disagreed with the government, it's a lot. And it's not, it's just a year ago. 2026 is not even, it's just February. So when we're looking at the timeline, it's just 1 year ago. Just a year ago when she was in parliament, and Kimchuma Murkomen could not answer what the Kware murder victims were or who they were. She walked out of parliament. That issue to date has not been solved. When the questions C.S. Murkomen on the abductions that happened during the Gen Z protest, she couldn't stay in parliament. She walked out as well. That question has not been answered to date. But one road has been constructed in our constituency, and then we see this turnaround. Same question that I want to ask about ODM currently as it is. All of a sudden, your camp is speaking good things about the government. And I'll be reading for you a couple of projects here that Dr. President William Ruto has launched in the Nyanza part of the country. And they came as a result of the warming up that ODM was warming up with UDA. So, Tom, could you tell us this morning, when we say that we are fighting for the interests of our people, what do you really mean as ODM? What do you really mean as the Wamuchomba Kambobo is saying it's all about development and our people? Must I be friends with the president for me to get development? That's the question I'm asking this morning.
Thank you, Simba. Let me start by responding about Wamuchomba. And I said, Wamuchomba was home. She vied on a UDA ticket.
That's it.
And if you look at the issues that Wamuchomba was fighting, they were very genuine issues. If you look at the way the government started the implementation of the projects they promised Wananchi, they were off track. Because one, they promised pesa mfukoni.
Yes.
Wamuchomba was not seeing pesa mfukoni.
Yes.
So you cannot allude to road alone as the reason why Wamuchomba decided to shift the attention.
Yes.
Because one, if you look at these other projects that the president is launching across the country, the Nyota program, actually those are one of the things the UDA government promised to Wananchi. So Wamuchomba is just like any other politician who is trying to pursue a self-interest now directly. Because one, the issues Wamuchomba was fighting were very clear, including the politician she had a war with.
Yes.
Was very clear in the public domain. One of them was the former deputy president. The second person was Kimani Ichung'wah. So we don't know what happened behind the curtain in terms of reconciliation between the current majority leader and Gathoni Wamuchomba.
Yes.
Maybe the president went an extra mile and initiated kind of negotiation between Wamuchomba and also Kimani Ichung'wah, because one, Wamuchomba felt that Kimani Ichung'wah was being favored most in terms of projects that were being implemented in Kiambu County, at some point raising a concern that one road in Kikuyu constituency was allocated 2 billion, whereas Githunguri, which is a neighboring constituency, didn't receive anything.
Yes.
So perhaps this road was the bond of contention. And now that the president moved swiftly and sorted out this issue, Wamuchomba maybe is now in a position where she feels that my interests or the interest of my people is now being addressed properly by the party that sponsored me to the parliament. Because now the president is the party leader of UDA. So as it stands, they have advantage as the government It is not whether the government way or, but I will tell you, Simba, MPs who are aligned to the side of the government, they have a number of advantages. One advantage is easy access to the ministers, because most of the ministers are aligned on their side. The second advantage they have is the key parliamentary committees. The key parliamentary committees include the budget committee.
That's it.
Where we saw Ndindi Nyoro was there, was a member of UDA. Now there's a small shift because it was taken to ODM as a result of the pre-coalition pact that the ODM entered into with the UDA, called now the broad-based arrangement. I think that is why now it has shifted to ODM.
That's it.
But now, being a member of the ruling party, it gives you a number of advantages, because you are even able to follow budgets. You are even able to push your budgets to be included by the ministers, because you can easily access them. So Wamuchomba was placed at this particular advantage. And now, being that she felt that my issues were not being addressed because of two people, who she mentioned very clearly in the public domain. That was the former president and the majority leader. So whether the government way, what I will stress, and the bottom line is, Constitution gives everybody a right to development. So development is not a reward.
That's it.
To buy anybody.
Pretty much. So even before I cross over to Mumbo, is the same way you're ending now takes us to what is currently going on within ODM and the government. Let me just read a couple of quotes here from your leaders, so that we see what essentially this means then. Because if we are talking about Wamuchomba, then the same breath should be used to talk about what's going on in ODM right now. And I'll read. This is one, Jeanette Mohammed, who's saying, let me just read it. This is what he's saying: we cannot oppose development. If projects benefit our people, we will engage. That's one quote. I'll continue. Read Opio Wandai, who's saying, our role is not to fight the government for the sake of it. Our duty is to deliver for our people. Oburu Odinga continues and says, dialogue does not mean surrender. It means protecting the interests of our supporters. All right? I'll keep on saying, this is Kikuyu, Member of Parliament, that is Kimani Ichung'wah, who's saying, the government will work with leaders who are ready to deliver, not those shouting from the sidelines. Every other comment that I've read there is just saying, look here, for you to protect the interest of your people and for the government to work with you, you gotta be friends of the government. Tom, why? What does it mean, protecting the interest of my people? You can't still, as a member of parliament, protect the interest of your people by not being a friend of the ruling party.
I'll tell you this. One thing our members of parliament has not learned is the application of the distinct power, the separation of powers.
That's it.
They have not learned how parliament can operate independently, because most of them have not learned how to play issue-based politics. And that is why if you go to mature democracies like South Africa, you'll find they have instances where they grill the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, in parliament. They ask him questions. They ask him regardless of the party you belong to. So our parliament, in as much as it is growing, but it is growing at a very slow pace. Most of them are not able to distinguish their mandate from the executive side.
Yes.
The constitution is very clear. Parliament make laws. The executive implement those laws. So our people are not keen on the implementation of their powers. If you look at the people you are quoting there, Junet is a member of parliament. Members of parliament has only 3 mandates, which I said here: legislation, oversight and representation. If you cannot legislate effectively, you will never push for development for your people. We have a number of people who have implemented meaningful projects regardless of their position in political parties.
Yes.
And I will take you to a constituency like Ugenya, for example. Ugenya, David Ochieng has been a member of the opposite side, but when he disagreed with Baba and decided to register a new political party, he defeated Baba's party. Not because people looked at him as a sycophant of any politics, but they looked at the way he was playing his politics. It was issue-based. So one thing I will say, we need to call our members of parliament to order.
Yes.
And make them understand
yes.
that you cannot sell your loyalty with cheap development, which constitutionally,
yes,
they are your right.
But that's the same thing that ODM is negotiating for.
So that is why we are saying.
So this blanket of we gotta negotiate and get our people in government.
I'm a member of ODM.
That's it.
Up to this particular
yes.
time,
yes.
and we are saying this is in the public domain.
Yes.
We have factions. 2 factions in ODM. Others are saying we just go to the government directly and protect the already existing development. Others are saying, like myself, we are supposed to have a structured engagement with whoever is inviting us to the table, or whoever we are inviting to the table.
Yes.
So what we are saying, Oburu is just also trying to protect, because one, let us also be very factual. As at now, Oburu's son is one of the advisors to the president.
That's it.
So what gives him the reason to oppose the president? He cannot. So, or in ODM, we must also look at people, how are they protecting their own self-interest? Maybe somebody can be advancing his political self-interest at the expense of the entire community.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we are saying, for the first time, we are not going unanimously.
That's it.
With most of them. We are saying we need a structured engagement whereby if you are entering into an MOU
yes.
with the UDA,
yes.
we know the content of that MOU. And we also look at the political goodwill of implementing that particular MOU without any coercion.
Yes.
Yes.
Mobo, I want you to pick on this particular, because I'll be coming back to you on that as well, on what it means then for ODM to be friends of UDA, because that's the only conversation that is on the ground right now. And looks as if Wamuchomba has set the precedent. And this is it. This is this is Peter Salasya, and I'll pick these sentiments. And this is just a day ago. And the Peter Salasya is saying, Honorable Wadhoni Wamuchomba, wacha kuafala. I'm just reading directly what this guy said. SHA is a scam. SHA mission hospitals don't accept, and majority of private hospitals don't accept that nonsense of Adendole. I thought you are wise. Wacha kudanganya wa Kenya. Okay? Now, we went back to what Wamuchomba had previously spoken about SHA. One of the people who were opposing SHA was her. But all of a sudden, 2 days ago, there are 2 contrasting communications that are coming from Wadhoni Wamuchomba, saying that we were lied to at first, correcting her earlier sentiments, saying that this will not work. And now she's saying we were lied to, that SHA is not working, we refuse to register, other parts of the Kenya registered, and their services have been paid for. Goes all the way to saying, I was one of them, I realized I was not honest with you, and I abandoned. So I became a mole instantly. Just listen to her. That I was among those people who were saying that SHA is not working. And that's a member of parliament with the function of legislation speaking. I mean, she receives that intel for the sake of her people. Back then she told them this thing is nonsense, it won't work. 2 days ago, she's here saying, I was brainwashed. It's working, other people registered. She speaks like a person who's been given a token, because she was at the forefront of correcting the government on these issues. I've mentioned a couple of them, even on the Gen Z abductions that happened in the country. When Murkomen went to Parliament, and she was among the people who were questioning him, where are the people that have been abducted? How many people have died? When Murkomen could answer, she walked out of Parliament and said, I can't stand for this. A road later, in a constituency, it looks as if she's turned around. Now, I'm going to read for you this comment here from one Moses Hassan this morning, who's saying, and listen to it. I mean, if you say, I negotiated for the building of this road in our constituency, that's already votes for Wamuchomba in 2027. The only thing she had to do is go tell the president, give me 1 or 2 roads in my constituency and I'll back you, because elections are nearing and the electorate is not stupid. They were going to ask her what you've done, and that road gives her all the votes she needs in 2027. I mean, Mumbo, can't we see it? Is that what it is? Be my friend. I'll give you a present that will get you back in office in 2027. No wonder Wamuchomba now is turned around, correcting her earlier painful sentiments as a member of parliament, coming out to say, I was brainwashed. Who brainwashed you? You have all the devices. You've been put in that office so that you don't get brainwashed, Mumbo. So who brainwashed you? You were given a responsibility by your electorate to go outside there and tell them the truth. You told them earlier, SHA is not working. The finance bill, which SHA was included in, you told them it's not working. Who brainwashed you? 1 year down the line, you are now wiser than the rest of them, telling them, go back and register for SHA, that it's working. When the rest of Kenyans this morning are also getting treated with headlines that 11 billion shillings already looted from SHA in just 14 months. But Wamuchomba is telling them, it's working. Mumba, why can't we say the truth? You've been rewarded. Now go back and do the work for the party.
Okay. There is a lot, like I said earlier. And Wamuchomba is just being a good student of politics. Wamuchomba is not very special from Kina Junet Mohammed. Remember, she voted for this president.
Yes.
Kina Junet Mohammed was singing hallelujah to the president, never voted for him. Kina Pio and I and the co.
Yes.
It's the rewards they've been able to get that is actually making them to sing hallelujah. Wamuchomba, why would I expect Wamuchomba to sing a different tune? That is number one. Two, I want to say it this way. When Wamuchomba is actually fighting for the people of Githunguri, it's wrong. When people are fighting for what is going to their party, which is actually not directly involved, it is right. We need to be very candid with this conversation. And the moment we be candid with this conversation, that is where we get it right. That is where the conversation starts. You see, Simba, the road that has been built in Githunguri doesn't belong to Wamuchomba and her family. It belongs to the people of Githunguri. More or less, it's one of the agendas maybe she bargained with the president, that at least when we get to power, I want this road made. And it's been accomplished. Even for me, like,
yes.
Let's say, for example, we get into a pact with my brother here and we agree that for me to be able to back you, this is what I need from your side.
That's it.
And he accomplishes whatever we agreed upon.
Mumbo,
then,
I want you to hold your thoughts right there, kindly, if you can.
Okay.
Because I want us to go for this tiny breather. Because the question that I want to ask is, why do you need to bargain for the president for you to get development in your constituency? Why do you need to bargain with the president? You were put there to make sure that whether you're friends with the president or not, whether you speak with the president or not, there is development that is happening in the constituency. Can't we use different avenues which are well outlined in the law? In the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, that states that the government should make sure that the national resources have trickled down to the county levels, to the constituency levels, to enable development. That this conversation that we're having here should be that members of parliament shouldn't be celebrating roads construction in 2010, that should be a role that should be undertaken by the governors. But right now, the only person who should be coming and telling us this is exactly what has happened in this county is a governor. That the only conversation that Wamuchomba should be having is that I made sure, we petitioned the national government to make sure that that money has gone to the county levels. That we shouldn't be speaking about a road in Githunguri, we should be speaking about roads in other constituencies as well. Why is Wamuchomba talking about a road? Why is she talking about a road? That's the question the majority of Kenyans are asking. That you shouldn't be talking about a road. That's not your role. It's part of your role. You shouldn't be coming here as a member of parliament telling us, oh, I constructed a road. But that's not your role. As envisioned in the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, that's not the role of a member of parliament. Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, I'll be reading to Tom also a couple of projects that have been launched in Nyanza, a lot of them. I mean, we were listening to them in the newsroom yesterday and we said, wow. And all of them have been overseen by the president himself. Him looking for these resources and saying that I need all these projects to come up in Nyanza. I'll read a couple of them just before we step on this break, because once we come back, we'll still be coming back for Mumbo, for Mumbo to continue with his submission. Homa Bay Fish Market, Homa Bay Pier, affordable housing projects, road infrastructure, water projects, other projects including Siaya County, water supply, agriculture, infrastructure. Other projects also here is like the Mageta Island Solar, mini grid, Siaya ESP market, and affordable housing in Alego Soga. There's so much. MV Uhuru 2 that was commissioned also by the president as well. Fisheries, housing and infrastructure, so much. You can count a lot of them, and every other Kenyan knows that the only reason that this is getting done is because he's trying to woo the region and the leaders from the region as well. Why can't all these projects be undertaken by the county governments? Why is the president's name in it? That's the question that we're asking this morning right here on the Morning Drift. Do you agree that members of parliament right now should be talking about construction of roads in their constituencies and taking pride that they are the reasons why these roads are constructed? Should be talking about other bigger issues that affect majority of their constituents and also Kenyans at large. Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, we'll be coming back with Mumbo. This is the Morning Drift.
How easy is it for you to forgive someone who has hurt you?
How easy is it?
What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. They look familiar. Have we met before? No. We met in
Nobody is buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he's going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
And we are back. So the question that we asked Mumbo just before going on break, and if you're joining us, we are talking about whether indeed in a 2026 you still need to be a friend to the president before you get development in your constituency. What is the role of a member of parliament in the National House? Should they be taking pride of 1 or 2 votes in the constituency, saying that this is exactly what we've been able to do? What is their scope really in terms of representing their constituents in the National House? A couple of things before we go back to Mumbo then. Let's look at some of the projects that have come up in the Nyanza part of the country since President Ruto then started quoting this region. We do have Homa Bay Fish Market. We do have Homa Bay Pier. It's a rehabilitation and modernization of the pier to boost trade and the blue economy. Affordable housing projects, launch of the housing units in Homa Bay. There have been 110 so far, and initiatives in Oyugis, Kendu Bay, and Mbita. Road infrastructure, launch of the Rusinga Ring Road, Adiedo, Kaboik Road, and the rehabilitation of Homa Bay, Sindo, Mugunga Road. Water projects, commissioning of the Oyugis water project and last mile water connectivity. Other projects include renovation of the Raila Odinga Stadium and the Kabunde airstrip, that is only in Homa Bay County, Siaya County as well. Water supply, commissioning of the Ugunja, Sega, Ukwala water projects, 1.2 billion shillings worth, and the Siaya Bondo water project. Agriculture, launch of the rice mills in Alego and Ugenya. Infrastructure, inspection of the Dogeo Bridge and the launching of the Bondo Uyawi Liunda Beach Road. Other projects, Mageta Island Solar PV, Minigrid, Siaya. There's so much. I'll keep on reading. And here we have the 3 counties, that the Migori County, Kisumu County, Siaya County, and Homa Bay County, 4 counties. They've all benefited from robust launch of projects by the president in these regions. And the president, in majority of these projects, has been there by himself to oversee the launch of these projects. Should it be happening in 2025, 2026, for crying out loud? And I want you to also complete your sentiments on Wamuchomba taking pride in the construction of 1 or 2 votes in a constituency.
You know, Simba.
Yes.
Almost every political leader is actually elected or re-elected on the projects they actually completed in their areas.
Yes.
And you see what the common mwananchi looks at.
Yes.
Is not even some of the things that we think about here. You see, like the people of Githunguri, what they are resonating with could be very different.
Yes.
Maybe you find like when Wamuchomba goes back to the constituency, the conversation about that road has been a thorn in the flesh, and that's why it was actually to be prioritized by the president. And once it's actually completed, you see everybody feels good, including herself, because she feels the people of Githunguri really wanted this road completed. And once it's actually completed, is one of the things that will be able to get me re-elected. So for any leader, even if it could be myself or yourself, you want your projects, the projects that you talk about with your people in the constituency, in the ward level, in the counties, once they are completed, I think you feel like everything is now on the track. And I will say it this way. Wamuchomba is not actually the first person to be able to praise roads. Go back to my western counties, go back to my western constituencies. When the conversation about development starts, it starts with the roads, not anything else. The president tunataka kumaliza barabara ya 104. Once it's done, then I think your re-election is guaranteed. So the conversation about development, of course, people want infrastructure because they know what it takes for that case. There are many things that are actually happening in constituencies and counties and even ward levels. Without infrastructure, you cannot be able to achieve it. So majority of the people talking about roads for Wamuchomba for this case, I think to me, she's just talking about the development and beyond. That's what I want us to be able to understand.
Yes. Yeah. Mumbo, let's look at the key roles of members of parliament as the constitution envisions it. Talks about representation. And if you look at what they've explained it to be, what we as the people of Kenya I've explained representation to be, you're talking about representing the people of their constituencies and special interests in parliament. That's one. Two, under representation, deliberating on resolving issues affecting citizens. And number three, lobbying for development projects and services in their specific areas. But just hold on, because that role again changes on how the 2010 Kenyan Constitution envisions it. Under legislation, oversight, and budget and resource allocation, they have 4 particular responsibilities. But then anything that touches on money, which the members of parliament are supposed to speak about, it goes back to the constituency level, where the national government shall not take pride, the way the 2010 Kenyan Constitution envisions development, that the national government shall not take pride of development in the county levels, because we have governors who are supposed to oversee and push their counties to be self-reliant, come up with their own laws, come up with their own development projects, and also through the senators and members of parliament petition the government to increase resource allocation so that these projects that we're talking about here can go back to the county governments. The only area that members of parliament still holds the 2010 Kenyan Constitution ransom is that they're still under the NGCDF. They still have that resource kitty where they can choose what projects to do in their constituencies. Is it not clear then that what you're essentially doing is using that road as a campaign tool? That all you're doing is saying, as a member of parliament, as opposed to me petitioning you to increase revenue allocation to the county governments so they're able to undertake these projects, I'm going to push you personally, on a personal level, Mumbo. I'm going to talk to the president to make sure that this road is constructed, so that I can go back to my constituents and say, see, I gave you a road, which is a copy and paste of the older constitution that didn't have governors, didn't have MCAs, didn't have ward representatives in it, that only gave this responsibility of pushing development in the constituencies to members of parliament. Why we all had to be presidents of the friends of the president, or else that road, you'll never see it. That's what Wamuchomba is presenting. That's what the president and Wamuchomba are presenting. If you spoke directly to the president to give you this road, then that's your award, not your people's award. Mumbo.
It is the people, it's the member of parliament who have failed the people. Because you see, for this case, like currently, you'll find out that the parliament has been captured by the executive. And you see they're speaking the language of the executive.
Yes.
They're not speaking the language of the people.
Yes.
That's why they need to be able to go there, to go to the executive with the president to beg for the projects.
Yes.
So you will find like, Wamuchomba is just part of them. Look at the people who are even elected on other tickets. I remember, in fact, the first ODM members who went to join hands with the president, Jalango being part of it, MP Langata, my good friend from Suba North, Karoli Omondi, the people going to join the president for that case. So, to me, parliament has been captured. And you see they're not speaking the Mwananchi's language.
Yes.
They have even forgotten their roles. Talking about representation for this case, the reason they are celebrating for such kind of projects, like let's say, for example, roads, because of one thing. They feel once that it's actually accomplished, they have achieved their target. But it's that and beyond. It's development and beyond.
That's it.
In terms of representation, they have not been able to represent the people fully in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Because you find that matters in the National Assembly, some of the things like, let's say, for instance, people being maimed and maybe intimidated by the state, such kind of things are the Wamuchomba used to speak that language initially, but she's no longer speaking that language. Why? It's because Parliament has been captured, and that's why it's not representing the people in terms of the projects and even development and any other thing. Mm-hmm. So what we need to be able to understand here, Simba, me and you, is that for the projects to be able to come to your constituents for that case, you need to be able to toe the line. How and why? And that is what Wamuchomba is actually doing. And that is what majority of the people, there are many Wamuchombas. He's the only person who's been able to come out vocal and maybe speak about it. But there are many people who go to State House, who speak to the president directly, and their projects are actually accomplished. But now Wamuchomba is just one case. So what we need to be able to know is that Wamuchomba decided to be able to speak the president's language as a way of representing her people, because she felt that is the only way.
Yes.
She has done it without the president, and she felt it's actually very difficult. It's not easier. You heard my brother here say that you must be able to side with the ruling party for you to be able to get these developments. How and why? That is where the cabinet secretaries are. That is where lobbying is actually done. It's much easier to be able to be on that side, unlike being a lone ranger whereby you are fighting for these projects.
Yes.
He actually gave another way, or another option, where you can side with the locals who are of goodwill to be able to support you, take the projects on the next level.
That's it.
So Wamuchomba, for me, is actually just trying to be able to toe the line to get the development for her people, because she felt if she doesn't do that, then she'll not be able to achieve whatever she promised the people of Githunguri.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just Tom, couple of responses. I want to start you on this as well. I mean, as a man who comes from that region, when you look at some of this this development projects that have in these 4 counties that I've mentioned, I mean, they're very good projects. They touch on the basic needs of the people. There's no project, there's no county that is in the Nyanza part of this country that currently doesn't have affordable housing, that currently doesn't touch on agriculture. All of them touch on agriculture. All of them even touch on transport as well. I mean, and health as well. Those are the areas where they're touching on. And there's a lot of projects, at least 4 major projects that are being undertaken by the national government in your counties. But the timeline when these projects were announced is immediately after that handshake with President Dr. William Ruto and one Raila Amolo Odinga. That's when they went back to your region and they started doing convoys, where the president, upon that handshake, launched a flurry of projects in that region. You ask yourself, where were you? Why did you have to wait until the handshake for you to do this project? Why didn't you come earlier? If indeed your intention was to fully develop the country, why did you have to wait until Raila Amolo Odinga became your friend? Now all of a sudden, because you knew you're going to get the reception that you wanted, you came back and gave us this project. And number 2, what is this conversation about our people have to be in government? Tom, I am not in government. My education CS is in government. If we go by tribe, Ogamba is in government. I've not felt anything about him being in government. Could you care to explain this conversation for we got to get our people in government? The PSs and CSs that you donated to UDA. Tom, are you in government? Well, how? Tom, could you tell us, how are you in government? Maybe uko kwa serikali bwana, unaweza tulieka kitu hapa nje.
Simba, that's a very good question, and I said, and my friend has also agreed with me, it seems most of our parliamentarians up to this time, we are in the 3rd generation of the new constitution.
Yes.
That is, this is the 3rd parliament after the promulgation of the new constitution.
That's it.
They have not yet still understood their responsibilities. They want to operate the way Kanu used to operate. Because you remember initially you used to praise the president, for president to consider giving you projects. That was the old constitution. They're still operating during that era. And the few who have interpreted the constitution keenly, you quoted a good friend of mine there, PK Salasia.
Yes.
You know why I love Salasia? In his 3 years of leadership, he has achieved a lot than his predecessor, who had worked for 2 terms, 3 terms.
3 terms.
He has even outperformed my area member of parliament, who is in his 2nd term.
Yes.
Because he just went the other day, we are seeing KMTC being built in his constituency from the scratch. We are seeing Wanga Technical being built from from the scratch. We are seeing a number of projects. We are seeing a student going to school without struggle. Yet this is somebody who criticizes the government publicly. What happened that Salasia is criticizing the government and is doing a lot than those who are supporting the government? Because Salasia has understood the importance of issue-based politics. That when the policy is wrong, I criticize it and call the executive to order. When the policy is right, I say let us soldier on. That is the politics we want. You are talking about feeling the impact of the government. Simba, I will tell you, there's what we call presidential directive, and there's what we call budget allocation. What president did was presidential directive, not budget allocation. The project you are saying, until the day I will interact with them in a budget estimate approved by the budget committee in Parliament, National Assembly, that is when I will say Nyanza has gained. Up to now, I treat those as political pronouncements. Those are just like any other directive that a president can give. They don't even meet the basis of an executive order. So how do we ensure that these projects are anchored in a budget estimate? We are only remaining with the financial year 2026, 2027, which will not be implemented up to the final quarter.
Yes.
So the day I will interact with those particular projects in a budget estimate paper, that is when I will say we have gained. But up to this particular time, we have not gained anything, apart from the representation whereby we were allocated some few slots for the cabinet secretary. But now, we are not feeling the impact of these people. Unlike the Uru's time, we felt the impact of the real technocrats. But you gave us politicians to represent us as cabinet ministers who, instead of representing people, they are advancing their political mileage. They are still continuing to seek political relevance. Instead of CS Mbadi going to the ground to launch a number of projects, he is launching Nyangreswa Fund, Education Fund, in his Suba constituency. We expect Mbadi to be interacting with people in Mombasa. We expect Mbadi to be interacting with people in Kwale. We expect Mbadi to be interacting with people in Turkana and West Pokot. Not Suba South, where he has been a member of parliament for 4 terms. So we are saying we need a structured engagement. And that is why we, the faction in ODM, we are calling other ODM members to order. That please, we are not saying we don't want to shout 2-term, but we want to shout 2-term with a structured engagement whereby we understand the rule of the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Not like we are going somewhere and is the one who will set for us the rule of the game. So we don't want to find ourselves in a corner whereby the executive, or rather the ruling party, will tell us that since you are just coming as a single community, I'm just giving you 1 cabinet secretary and maybe 2 principal secretary positions. We want us to go with our own demands. And I cannot invite you for discussion and I set for you the rules, because you can decide to engage me or not, based on your own evaluation. So up to now, President is also trying to play smart politics of the divide and rule strategy. Because on the other hand, he's giving us so many offers, but on the other one, he's also dividing the ODM faction.
Yes.
Because we're seeing members of his own cabinet forming. We saw Coast the other day pushing Governor Joe to have their own political party. Joe is a member of the president's cabinet. If he means good for us, then it is high time he also talks with his cabinets. that please, I found you in ODM, and it is your mandate to ensure that ODM stays stronger. So there are so many things we're still learning from this broad-based arrangement.
Yes.
But I remember last time I said here, we need to understand the intention of the president when it comes to implementation of the broad-based agenda.
That's it.
Because if Baba formed the baseline of the negotiation, then we are unlucky because Baba is no more.
That's it.
Simba, I wanted to surprise you on something.
Yes.
Do you know the major reason to why many projects have stalled? The ones that you've been able to see Morara Kebasa talk about. Not even from President William Ruto alone, even from the previous government that he was also part and parcel of.
Yes.
These projects have stalled because they are being commissioned by the president. Ile barabara tutatengeneza, hii hapa tutaunda. Sasa hiyo barabara by the time inafika pale, then it doesn't really. But if this barabara, if this road, if this market project was actually in the budget, then it would be completed.
That's it.
Many of the projects that have not been completed, they have been commissioned by the president in the presidential rally, somewhere in a village or somewhere in a marketplace. And that is where the problem starts from. Many of these projects would be completed if they were in the budget, but they have not been completed because Simba alikuja hapa kama rais akasema na hii barabara kutoka hapa kufika mpaka pale ifanye nini itengenezwe. So that is one of the troubles that we are facing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing.
That's why we are saying,
yes, yes.
If members of parliament understand their role,
then
you pick it from there.
Yes.
If government promised you a fish plant, you pick it from there under the budget making process.
Yes.
The national annual allocation. You ensure your project is also allocated there, so that at least you are safe. So that even when you are following with the president, you are following something that has been anchored in the budget policy paper.
That's it.
Not something that was given as a presidential directive.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Mumbo, it's a good thing that you're mentioning, but just want to go through what the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, it's a good thing you're talking about that, because my next question was going to come from that. What is the role of the Kenyan president? And it's a good thing that we talk about this morning for our audience that is listening to us. You may wonder that we are talking things that the Kenyan Constitution hasn't really envisioned. Because if you look at the role of the president, he's got executive authority, where the president exercises executive authority with the assistance of the deputy president and cabinet secretary, CSs. That's why you would imagine the president will come in and say, I've spoken to the CS, this is a very needy project that is right here. So can we direct some of these funds to be used in this particular project under executive authority? But remember, he doesn't act alone in that executive authority, because his executive authority is also limited within the Kenyan Constitution. Because members of parliament can go back and say, no, we don't want you to do that. CSs can guide him and tell him, no, our budget document doesn't allow you to say, we are launching the Rironimau Summit Road. No. Or in the 2010 budget, we don't have the ability for you to go borrow a couple of billions for you to construct one legacy project in the country that the country doesn't need. That at some point, his executive authority is also limited. Goes on to say you are the head of government, the commander-in-chief, you're the national security, upholding the constitution, symbol of unity. Goes on to, you got to address parliament, report on values, assenting on laws, international obligations, and all that. There is nowhere where the Kenyan Constitution, Mumbo, envisions that now the president is in charge of national development. That particular responsibility was taken away from him in the 2010 Kenyan Constitution. The people in charge of development are the governors in this Kenyan Constitution. And also, to some degree, members of parliament, because they kept on holding the NGCDF. So is the president campaigning across the country? Why can't he sit back and say, when it comes to development, the Kenyan Constitution doesn't give me that responsibility. I'll sit back and then see exactly what happens across the country. Even the likes of Nyota Fund that the president has come up with, the likes of the Hustler Fund that the president has come up with, that majority of Kenyans are going to pay back again. Is the president campaigning? The same thing. Is he campaigning through the likes of Wamuchomba? Is he campaigning through the likes of ODM, no wonder now we're seeing all these appointments of CSs and PSs. Why can't we just say, please, Mr. President, stop campaigning. The Kenyan Constitution doesn't envision you doing all this. If you're going to do it, go petition your CSs to come up with these projects. Take them to Parliament. Parliament will speak about them so they are implemented. Is the President campaigning through Parliament?
I will say yes, it's actually campaigning through the Parliament. But Simba, there's something you mentioned, before I even come to that, there's something you mentioned about the powers of the President and the Executive. Are our MPs even able to say no to something the President has been able to commission and maybe it's not really making sense? They are not able. Why? Because look at the majority side. Look at the two divides of the House.
Yes.
National Assembly for that case. You will find there is nobody who is able to. Have you ever seen any motion not going through? Especially to do with the President, the President's directive.
Really?
It has never.
Yes.
And if it goes, maybe it's just maybe to be able to make Simba and I believe that that is not it. So I want you to look at it this way. The former Premier Raila Odinga, I think, has been able to fight this many times. The NGCDF, the role of the county governors and the role of the member of parliament and the role of the executive. You've seen many of the people call him names, all sorts of names, when he talks about the roles, some of the roles being taken to the government, to the county government side. He's been able to receive a lot of backlash for that case. So I think we've not been able to implement our constitution fully. It has failed in many dimensions, from the executive part of it, to the legislative part of it, to the devolution part of it. It's actually failed.
Yes.
And that's why you will find even majority of the governors still coming to Nairobi to look for the president. For me, in my own simple understanding, the reason we came up with devolution is to have a president in the county. Like, how does somebody in West Pokot fill the presidency? If they have a governor, I think for that case, they will be able to have somebody they report to, somebody that gives them development within their reach.
That's it.
That is my own basic understanding of having the county governor.
That's it.
But you see, if the county governor still has to come to the presidency, whereby he comes to the State House to beg for projects, then
pretty much.
You understand the point?
That's it.
So
we have 2 minutes for this conversation, and there's a question that is being directed to you directly, and I'm going to read it. Here it is, and this is coming from Mr. Alo. Suleimani, good morning. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for watching us this morning. And this part is saying, but even ODM is campaigning. They're campaigning for positions in government because they know they'll benefit personally, not benefit the people. All right? Goes on to say, even the likes of Babu Wino, they're campaigning to be in government, because in this country, to be in government means you have a basis for power. Why can't we all agree that our CSs, our members of parliament, and our president are all campaign merchants who are just seeking popularity? Do one road or two, construct 10 houses in the name of affordable housing, and call it proper development. 2 minutes, we step out.
Thank you, Simba. On a quick one, on the role of the executive.
That's it.
I will say, you see, cabinets are being appointed by the president, and therefore you cannot separate them from the executive. For a cabinet secretary in charge of finance to come out and read a budget policy, that budget they don't draft it themselves. It is being given by the National Assembly Finance Committee.
That's it.
Who are even allowed to do public participation to know what are the priority projects of Wananchi. So there were several rulings by the courts, and they sometimes striked out some policies that were proposed by the government and were enacted by the president as a law. Then they didn't meet the threshold of the public participation statute. So what I will say is, what we need to understand is, to what extent have we implemented our new constitution? And what are the lessons we have learned from the implementation of that constitution?
Yes.
What are the areas that we need to improve when it comes to application of the separation of powers?
That's it.
That is what the president needs to understand. I will praise the president for implementing the Nyota project because of this reason. President has come out clearly and said this Nyota project is a donor-funded project, meaning he has gone to an extent of now embracing the public-private partnership. That is a special lobby.
Yes.
So as far as that is concerned, that is an advantage he has as the president. Because myself as Thomas, a commoner, I cannot access the leadership of the World Bank. But as a president, the head of state and the commander-in-chief, he has access to the leadership of the World Bank very easily. That is the position of advantage. I will conclude by saying this. Our members of parliament need to understand their mandate, and they should not sell their constitutional right with a project reward. They should not confuse constitutional right and political sycophants.
That's it.
That is what will mess them up, because now our people are being informed. Simba, this is a good discussion, but I will suggest this. Going forward, we need to ensure that we have people in position of power who understand their mandate, not people who are going to learn their mandate. And that can only happen if we keenly scrutinize our leaders at the point of election. What we are seeing is a mirage of leaders. As at now, we are still struggling to find good leaders for this country. Thank you.
Pretty much. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming into the studio this morning. So hopefully somebody was listening this morning. You believe that your party allegiance in this country should be able to award your constituency development. People of Nyanza, talk to me, especially people from the Nyanza County, that have received a flurry of projects from the president. Are you happy? Or should we change it for you as well? Talk to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. Take our guests also online and Look Up TV across all of them. I know that there was a lot of discussions going on online this morning. In between this particular discussion, I'm sorry, I couldn't be able to read all of them, but for the few who have contributed, I'll see you again tomorrow for another conversation. Good morning and goodbye. There's a pastor, this guy that